New York City is often described as a place of endless possibility, a place where you can reinvent yourself every time you turn a street corner. But in Fannie Hurst's novel, Just Around the Corner, that promise feels a bit more complicated. The title itself suggests a sense of anticipation, as if everyone is just waiting for the next thing to happen, the next person to meet, or the next level of success to arrive. But as we follow the various characters through the streets of New York, we see that what lies just around the corner isn't always the dream people were hoping for. Hurst doesn't give us one single protagonist. Instead, she gives us a mosaic. It's a collection of interconnected lives, a series of snapshots of people trying to navigate the gap between who they are and who they want to be. We see the working class, the rising middle class, and the people desperately trying to pretend they belong to the upper crust. We start with Gertrude Sprunt. She's a manicurist at the Knockerbeck Hotel, a woman who spends her days looking at the hands of others, observing the subtle signs of their wealth or their struggles. Gertrude is perceptive, and she's caught in a quiet tug-of-war between two very different kinds of affection. On one side, there's Mr. Barker, who represents the boisterous, easy luxury of the wealthy. On the other, there's Mr. Chase, a man of modest means who offers a quiet, sincere connection. As Gertrude navigates her own life, her choice isn't just about a man, it's about her own trajectory. When she chooses to go out with Chase, it's a signal that she's looking for a life that feels real, even if it doesn't come wrapped in the gold leaf of the hotel's high society. While Gertrude is trying to find her footing, we meet the Ginsbergs. A.B. Ginsberg is a hard-working man who owns a shoe store, but he's carrying a heavy weight. He's dealing with physical pain, but more significantly, he's dealing with the suffocating, guilt-driven care of his mother, Mrs. Ginsberg. She's a woman of tradition and thrift, a woman who wants her son to marry for stability and social standing. But A.B. is caught up in the modern pulse of the city. He falls for Ruby Cohn, a vibrant modern clerk who represents a different kind of future. When A.B. proposes, it's a moment of romantic impulse that sets off a chain reaction of anxiety. Ruby worries about her lack of family background, and Mrs. Ginsberg worries about the breaking of tradition. Their engagement is a beautiful thing, but it's shadowed by the constant tension between A.B.'s desire to move upward and his mother's fear of losing what they've built. As we move through the city, the tone shifts into something much darker with the story of Goldie Flint. Goldie is a stenographer, a woman with romantic ideals who thinks she can see through the surface of things. She's warned about Harry Trimp, a man who is essentially a social climber with a predatory edge, but she ignores the warnings. What follows is a slow, painful descent. Her marriage, which she likely imagined would be a fairy tale, becomes a volatile and strained existence. The idealism she started with curdles into the reality of domestic instability and the threat of violence. There's a moment where Goldie tries to break free, but she finds herself pulled back into the cycle of domesticity, staying even when things are at their worst. Hurst uses a 5-year jump to show us the long-term consequences of these social ambitions. We see the Katzenstein family, who have achieved exactly what Goldie once dreamed of: luxury, status, and a place in the high society circles of New York. But their life is a performance. They live in a world of strict dieting, performative social rituals, and intense pressure to maintain a specific image. The mask of success is heavy. Eventually, that mask slips. The family's financial facade collapses, revealing that they are actually insolvent. Even as they struggle to keep up appearances, the daughter, Birdie, is navigating her own romantic drama with a man named Marcus Gump, whose lower social standing threatens the very status the family has worked so hard to fake. While the Katzensteins are performing wealth, we see the extreme end of the urban experience through Della. Her story is one of survival and transformation. Driven to homicide by her abusive husband, John Blaney, Della is forced to flee. She escapes to the bright lights of Broadway, where she finds the success and fame she never thought possible. She becomes a star, a woman who has truly made it. But even this triumph is hollowed out by personal tragedy when her mother dies suddenly. It's a moment that pulls her back from the glamour of the stage to the raw, painful reality of her roots. The narrative then shifts to the quieter, more intimate struggles of women like Mame and Tilly. They are navigating the heavy atmosphere of grief after the death of a roommate. But in the midst of that sadness, life finds a way to surprise them. We see a sudden, unexpected romantic spark between Tilly and an undertaker, a connection that feels almost surreal given the circumstances. It's a reminder that in a city of millions, connection can happen in the most unexpected places, even amidst death. Then there is Lily Harkins. Lily is a woman living in a state of quiet desperation, trapped in a marriage to Charlie that has become monotonous and stagnant. She watches her friends and feels a hunger for the vibrant, exciting life she sees them leading. In a moment of sudden, impulsive rebellion, Lily leaves a note for her husband and spends a night out dancing with a man named George. For a few hours, she is someone else. She is free. But that freedom comes with a price. When she returns home in a panic, she finds Charlie waiting for her. He isn't angry, instead, he's holding a silver bracelet, a sincere, loving, and beautiful gift. It is a moment of profound irony. The gift is a gesture of genuine love, but it arrives at the exact moment that Lily's soul has irrevocably changed. She has had her taste of escape, and the domestic world she returned to will never feel the same. When we look back at these stories together, a few themes start to emerge from the mosaic. There is this constant driving tension between social mobility and stability. Almost every character is trying to move from one state of being to another. They want more money, more status, more excitement, or more security. But Hurst seems to suggest that these pursuits often come at a cost. To climb the social ladder, like the Katzensteins, you often have to trade in your authenticity for a mask. To find success, like Della, you might have to leave behind your past or endure profound loneliness. There is a recurring motif of the mask throughout the book. We see it in the way people dress, the way they diet, the way they carry themselves in high society, and even in the way people like Goldie Flint try to mask their own vulnerabilities with romantic idealism. The characters are all performing in some way, trying to convince the world, and perhaps themselves, that they are exactly where they belong. The city itself plays a massive role in this. New York is depicted not just as a setting, but as a character, a sort of malignant parasite that offers the glittering lights of opportunity, but fosters a deep, pervasive urban loneliness. You can be surrounded by thousands of people, as Gertrude is in the hotel, or as the Katzensteins are at their parties, and still be profoundly alone in your own struggle to be seen or understood. The book ultimately leaves us with a sense of the psychological price of ambition. There is a sense that every ascent, whether it's upward in social class or upward into fame, requires a loss of something essential. It's the loss of innocence, the loss of a connection to one's roots, or the loss of the ability to be satisfied with what is actually there, rather than what is just around the corner. The final image of Lily and her silver bracelet is perhaps the most haunting, because it isn't a moment of tragedy in the traditional sense. There is no death or violence in that scene. It's just the quiet, devastating realization that once you have looked around that corner and seen something else, you can never truly go back to the person you were before. The life you thought you wanted might have been right there all along, but you were too busy looking for the next thing to notice.